All right, good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our ISLA webinar. We have a packed presentation for y'all where we will be discussing our latest project in Grand Pacifica, Nicaragua, ISLA, a low EMF community near the ocean. But before we jump in, we're going to wait a few for folks to get signed on. If you're not familiar with the Zoom platform, do go ahead and look for the Q&A section. We will be taking your questions and answering them live today. So throughout the session, go ahead and enter your questions in that Q&A section, and toward the end of our presentation, we will be answering those for you. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll get started with Mike Cobb with some introductions. Mike Cobb, the floor is yours.
Very good. Thank you, Michael Fuller. Good to be with everybody today. I still see the number of participants clicking up, so maybe we'll just take another, 2 or 3, maybe a minute or so. I was going to say 2 or 3 minutes, but I think we probably okay. But one of the things that happens obviously is the Zoom software has to reload or update or do whatever it's supposed to do, and then folks are still trying to get signed in. But it's really exciting what we're doing today and what we've been working on for about a year now. And I really am I'm excited to get on and get going. But maybe before we do that, I think we've maybe hit the point where folks are online. Let me go ahead and just start my share screen here. We'll get that moving, and then I'd like to make my own introduction in just a moment here. All right. Well, very good. Well, Karen Rich is someone who has been very, very instrumental in helping us to get this project started. In fact, about a year ago, maybe Karen, you have to tell me exactly when. I think it was about a year ago.
A year, a little, yeah.
Little more?
November 23.
No, 22. November of 22.
Yes, sorry, right.
Yeah. So you lost a whole year in there somewhere, but it's been a busy year. So, no, but it's Karen, you were looking for a place that you could call home that would be low EMF, and you found us, and we're truly honored that we hit your radar screen, and now you've done a really a great service for a lot of folks, not just for yourself. When you came to us, you asked us if we could maybe help other people as well. And so let me give you the floor for a couple minutes, maybe tell a little bit about your story, how you came to find us, and really over the last year, what we've been able to do with you and some of the other folks on this webinar as a team. So Karen, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So the chain of events was just pretty straightforward. I was looking around for actually places to live outside the US, and I happened upon a YouTube all about your Ava community. And it looked with all the tiny homes right on the beach, and it looked super cute, and you were featuring smart home technology. So I contacted I think I sent an email to your group, and I said, could you do a community like that, but the opposite of smart home technology? And then I think there were 3 or 4 of us that got on a Zoom call, and you said, as a matter of fact, we can totally do that because we've owned the property for so long. We have all the fiber optic infrastructure here to do that. And so that's what started the conversation, and it got me excited for myself. I visited in March. I loved it. I felt really well. I'm a tropical person anyway, and Nicaragua is just an amazing place. For those of you who haven't been to Nicaragua, but if you possibly been to Costa Rica, it's very similar. I met expats from all over the world that are moving there. It's I think the #1 destination right now for expatting in Central America because it's so affordable, and the politics are kind of cool, at least as far as I'm concerned. So that's really it. And I want to thank you for being a visionary. You've done an amazing amount of due diligence to bring yourself and your team up to speed. It's an unusual topic if you don't have to know about it, and you guys have been amazing. So thank you.
Well, Karen, thank you again. We never would have even known this was an opportunity without you bringing it to the table. And And you mentioned the team, and I also want to echo that. We have a great team of folks at Grand Pacifica and the ECI company who really all jumped in and you're right, have learned a lot. It was a big learning curve for us because we didn't even really understand the concerns, the issue, the problem. And so we've worked with you, we've worked with some other folks. Kathy Cook, a building biologist, is on the program with us today, and she's been instrumental in helping us. And some of the reporting and some of the information that you'll see later in the presentation came from Kathy. So I think what I'd like to do is walk into the presentation, kind of run through the slides, kind of get through the general presentation, but then we're all here, this entire team of folks are here to answer questions. We've also got Grant Montgomery, who's an architect who actually lives at Grand Pacifica with his wife, and they have helped us design homes that will be, in addition to the very low EMF readings naturally, which we'll talk about later, to actually design homes that will continue to perpetuate that low EMF, low electrical noise through the actual design process itself. And then we have Joe Nagel as well, who is a property consultant who's come up to speed, who will be working with anyone who wants to make a reservation, wants to come visit with the folks that want to proceed with this. Joe Nagel is on board as well. So we'll all be here after the presentation to answer questions. We'll stick around for up to an hour. So with that, let me go ahead and get started, and we'll dig right in. You know, our company's been around a long time. We've been around 28 years now, and we've got a lot to say, and we've done a lot. But at the end of the day, really, our company delivers inspired lifestyles for adventurous souls. That's what we do. And if there's a common thread that runs through all of our neighbors and property owners, it really is this adventurous soul. And look, if you're concerned about EMF and it's affecting you, and you're not an adventurous soul, and you think you got to stay in the U.S., I understand that, because moving overseas requires a little bit of a change of mind, a change of heart. But I'm guessing that if you're on this webinar today, you are an adventurous soul. And if you are, the transition and move overseas really can be something quite fun and quite adventurous and quite wonderful, as many people have figured out. We've served over 800 people now who have decided to buy property overseas, many of whom have moved overseas. So if you are adventurous, you're probably here today, and this move overseas really will be a wonderful jump into adventure for you. Our company's been around a long time. We have a lot of beachfront, a lot of assets. We're a company that's been doing this. We have a great team of people, huge organization chart, but also, as Karen mentioned, a great leadership team, people who are willing to step up and go a little bit outside the box, look around the bend, look over the hill to see what's coming next. And we really rely on people like Karen to bring an opportunity to us that we don't know about, but then the team of people we have, the leadership group, to be able to say, okay, how do we get our arms around this? How can we deliver something that's needed in the marketplace, desperately needed in the marketplace? I live in West Virginia, and I know that many people who have suffered from EMF have moved to Green Bank, West Virginia, and it's an interesting place, but it's hard to call it a community. People have moved to various different locations around the world to get far away from EMF, which is really pervasive across the United States, Canada, Europe, the developing world, right? And so to be able to do this and be able to deliver a product that's going to be so helpful and so meaningful to folks, it takes visionary leaders who are willing to step outside the box and do things that other folks just simply aren't willing to do or aren't capable of doing. And we are. So today we're going to talk about a few things. Nicaragua. Karen mentioned that it's very similar to Costa Rica. It is very similar to Costa Rica, but it's a much freer location. Nicaragua never mask mandate. They never forced businesses to close. They did not have a vaccine mandate. They did have a vaccine requirement or a proof of testing to enter the country, but that was imposed by the airlines, not by the country itself. So again, very free place that responded well to something that many of us didn't like, how most of the countries of the world responded. We're going to talk about how you can own property in Nicaragua, what that process looks like very briefly. We're going to talk about Grand Pacifica, the neighborhood that we've built over the last 20 years, the village that we've built by the sea. And then we're going to dig into the specifics of ISLA, which is Spanish for island. And this is really important to see it as an island. We've created an island. We've created a safe harbor for folks who are suffering and want something in this space. So ISLA is the low EMF community. And we're going to talk about that. Again, we'll stick around for Q&A. Michael Fuller is here. I think this is an active live survey, but the question, you can put it in the chat. Have you been to Nicaragua? Again, it's kind of got a bad rap. I put that right out on the table. It's got a perception issue, but the perception and reality are two very, very different things. So if you've been to Nicaragua, put a note in the chat, say, yeah, I've been there. And we'd love to know that you have. But if you haven't been there, that also makes sense because most folks haven't been. It is the largest country in Central America. You've got Honduras to the north. You've got Costa Rica to the south. Grand Pacifica is just southwest of the capital city of Managua. It's paved road the whole way. I say that because a lot of roads in Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica, El Salvador aren't paved. They are not paved throughout the region, but the road from the airport all the way to the beach at Grand Pacifica is paved, makes it about an hour and 15-minute drive from the international airport. This is something to put a little bit of perspective around the development path or the popularity curve. I've put different countries of the region here, and as you'll see, Nicaragua's big down there towards the bottom. It's not a very popular country. And a place like Cancun at the top right is a very popular country. And so what this slide really does for investors is it talks about, where you're going to find investment. But it also has a lot of relevance to lifestyle. If you're looking for highly developed, everything refined, everything pretty and nice, you know what? You're going to find that at the top of the curve. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, Cancun, Mexico, Pacific coast of Costa Rica. Nicaragua's a little rough around the edges. It really is. Some people like that. Some people don't. I happen to like that very much. I made Nicaragua home for 14 years because I liked that. It was a wonderful place to raise a family. But the idea of popularity and development kind of go hand in hand. And if you're looking for something that's really not been swarmed by the masses, Nicaragua is absolutely right for you. It is one of the safest countries, affordable real estate, low cost of living. The natural and historic values of the country are incredible. Let's talk about safety. That's the one that seems to come up first. So we're going to hit that nail right on the head. Nicaragua, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, remains one of the safest countries in the hemisphere, in the Americas. And if you look at some statistics that they're a little bit old, they're 2020, so they're 3 years old at this point. But you've got World Atlas, you've got the next slide coming up in a second, but you just look, these are some, countries, El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica. Look at that. Really, when you get to the point where you're talking about very, very low violent crime rates, Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, they're all right there kind of together. Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, if you're from one of those cities, I'm sorry. But it puts things in perspective. People go, oh, you're going to Nicaragua, you're going to get killed. Well, I guess if you go to Cleveland or St. Louis, you have a much higher possibility of getting killed, right? So facts are facts. There's a saying, don't confuse me with the facts, right? But when you look at the data, Nicaragua is a very, very safe country. Another statistic, they're looking at, the violent crimes per 100,000. It also shows where countries are with, with their track record, moving up, moving down, right? So, but safety's relative. Safety is a perception. How do people feel about it? This is a picture of my wife, my two daughters, my mom and my dad. I always like to put this slide because as a parent with children, none of us would put our children in danger. And we lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. I traveled. I left them a couple weeks a month. Every month I was on the road, 2 to 3 weeks. My wife, my two daughters would drive around Nicaragua in a little Honda CRV. They'd decide to go find a butterfly farm out in the middle of nowhere and drive down these dirt roads and muddy roads, and they'd have flat tires once in a while. In 14 years, not a single incident. And it wasn't like we lived in a compound or a cocoon. We lived in Nicaragua. We explored Nicaragua. They themselves, us as a family. And I think this is the true testament to safety. Statistics are statistics, but being able to go camp out at the beach on a deserted beach overnight, swimming, playing, having fun. And I always and I always like to say that safety is kind of what you make of it. This is a fun activity. It's called volcano boarding. This is a cinder cone. It's a wonderful, fun place. You get on these little sleds and you slide down the hill. And I tried to break the speed record, and I didn't, but I did hurt myself a little bit. So the bottom line is safety is what you make of it, right? If you're out trolling around parts of town that you probably shouldn't be in at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know what? You're going to find danger, just like I found some danger, right? If you're home in bed, you're doing, what common sense would tell you is good behavior. You're going to be very, very safe. So affordable real estate, we just throw out some numbers, beautiful 1-bedroom oceanfront condo, for example, $1 million in California, under 200,000 in Nicaragua. So very, very affordable. Karen, these are the homes that you reached out to us about a long time ago, about 2 years ago. These are the Ava homes. These are the Ava and Bella homes, the off-grid neighborhood, solar neighborhood, 100, 150, 200 yards from the beach, the Bella neighborhood right on the beach. But again, very, very attractive price points that would just pretty much add a zero if you were in California. So that's one of the nice things about a country like Nicaragua. You've got very, very affordable real estate, which makes it easy to become a homeowner. But once you're a homeowner, what's it cost to live there? Well, when we lived in Nicaragua, we spent about a third of what we would spend in the United States for an incredibly enhanced lifestyle. I never had a maid in my life. We moved to Nicaragua, and there is no social security system. So, you get a maid, whether it's a half-time maid, full-time maid, whatever it is, but it's very, very affordable. You can go out and you can buy organic fruits and vegetables for far less than the supermarket, right? People in the US, we shop in supermarkets, the price is X. We go to a farmer's market with organic produce, it's 2X, it's 3X, or as I like to call it, whole paycheck, right? You get a whole paycheck to get organic foods. It's outrageously expensive. In Nicaragua, it's the exact opposite. To shop in the grocery store is X. To go to the local market where you're going to get organic fruits and vegetables, or you can grow it yourself at Grand Pacific in one of our huge garden areas that we've set aside and plowed and put water to, so you can grow your own fruits and vegetables. But if you go to the marketplace to get your own, it's 1/4 X, right? It's X at the supermarket. It's 1/4 that price. So this is the kind of high quality of life. This is a lifestyle enhancement, a better quality of life that costs less, right? And that's actually paradoxical, isn't it? I mean, if we think about a better quality of life in the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, and the developed world, we think to ourselves, well, we have to spend more money to get a higher quality of life. But when we move to a country like Nicaragua, paradoxically, we can actually have a much higher quality of life, and it costs less. So really, really neat. The historical elements of Nicaragua going all the way back to 1525 Granada. It's a almost in a couple years. Next year, it will be a 500-year-old city. Incredible heritage. The climate is spectacular. You've got Caribbean with islands in the Caribbean. You've got the Pacific side, which is a Southern California climate. You've got mountains. You've got canyons. It's just incredible lifestyle. And again, things like a massage, like this is a couple's massage, but a massage is $20 to $25, in your home, at the beach, wherever you want it, right? It's incredible to be able to get this kind of value. The fishing is phenomenal, surfing, snorkeling, diving, exploring nature, climbing mountains, zip lining, whether you're into dirt biking and rafting, just tons of activities. And the thing about it is that, the secret really is getting out. We had that popularity curve with Nicaragua down at the bottom, right? Not so popular, but it is becoming more and more popular because people are talking about it. People are getting, there's articles being written about it, of course, but it's hitting the buzz in social media and other places. And as that buzz continues to ramp up, the cost of acquisition, even owning a home, I mean, those kinds of things will increase in price because land prices go up as it becomes more and more popular. This is that 500-year-old colonial city, Granada. There's other cities, Leon, almost as old, Managua, Masaya, just beautiful, beautiful places. The volcano boarding, whether you like volcanic crater lakes, you want to hike, you want to do the beach activities. The heritage is spectacular. This is one of the active volcanoes in the country called Masaya. You can actually see a lava lake when you go there, which is just incredible to see and hear and smell lava. Investing in Nicaragua is pretty straightforward. I think that's another thing that people kind of maybe get tripped up on once in a while. Wow, I'm going to buy a piece of property in a foreign country. How do I do that? What's it like? Well, it's a pretty straightforward process. Here are some really great things. The Nicaraguan Constitution treats foreigners and Nicaraguans exactly the same for property rights. So if you're US, Canadian, Euro, Aussie, and you buy a piece of property, you will be treated exactly the same as a Nicaraguan. That's really important because some countries do differentiate between foreigners and domestic. Nicaragua has no differentiation. Property taxes are very, very low. The legal system is what they call, it's a civil law system. And so title is escritura publica, public title. I think we think about fee simple title in common law, which is the British heritage. The Spanish Roman heritage is civil law. So it's a little bit different, but in the end, you can get actual title to your property, escritura publica, or horizontal property regime. They have great residency programs, make it very, very easy to become a resident in the country, either as a retiree, as a 45-year-old person, you qualify to be a retiree. So many people who would just automatically think to themselves, well, I'm not a retiree. Well, if you're 45 or over and you can show an income of $600 a month, you qualify for the retirement residency. So pretty easy to get. They have an investor program, $30,000 investment in forestry qualifies. We have a teak plantation. We actually have a teak plantation right up next to our ISLA community. A $30,000 investment in teak gets you an investor's visa. So depending on whether you want to live in your home or you want to rent your home out and you want to travel back and forth, one or either of those residencies might be a better choice for you. And then Grand Pacifica. This is a piece of land 23 years ago now. We bought 2,500 acres of property. It's 3.5 miles of Pacific beachfront. It's a mile deep. We bought this cattle pasture. That's what it was. It was a cattle pasture. And it was at the end of an 11-kilometer dirt road, miserable dirt road. Could not get there in the rainy season. The closest power was over 14 miles away. We ran electricity 27 kilometers through the countryside to bring power to the site. And as Karen talked about when we had our very first call a little over a year ago, we decided back in 2003, 2004, we began implementation to put fiber to the home, right? And back then it was just a logical choice because it delivered the highest bandwidth. And we, Grand Pacifica, were actually the first fiber to the home project in Central America and the second or third in Latin America, fiber to the home. We were that early. And again, we did it for one reason, which was high-speed internet, bandwidth to the consumer, bandwidth to the home. But we didn't know that later someone like Karen would come out of the woodwork and say, well, if you have fiber, you don't need Wi-Fi. And so now all of a sudden, the fiber still delivers great bandwidth, of course, but it has the extra enhancement of being EMF free. So that was really the history. We started in 2000. We started doing our infrastructure rollout and development in 2003, 2004. And today we've actually built a small town by the ocean. We had to put in everything: water, sewer, the electric, the telecommunications, roads, security, police. We are our own police force effectively. So we have built a small town in Nicaragua. We've master planned it. We've said, look, there are going to be different neighborhoods. We've got neighborhoods of what I would call traditional retiree homes. We have neighborhoods of off-grid solar. We have oceanfront neighborhoods. We have off-ocean neighborhoods of very affordable homes. So by building a small town, you can actually have different neighborhoods, and ISLA will fold beautifully into what we've already established there. And establishment is the word, right? It is. We've been around for 28 years as a company. We've done this for a long time, and we're very, very good at what we do. We've had a ton of construction over the years. This is our San Diego Viejo, I would call a traditional neighborhood. A lot of retirees living full time on the property. Just beautiful homes, pretty tight architectural covenants and restrictions. Every home has to be Spanish colonial. It has to have clay tile roofs. The Isla community will be more liberal in terms of that. Other neighborhoods are more liberal as well. We have oceanfront condos, restaurants, pools. This is the new neighborhood. Very different styling, as you can see. These are the off-grid Ava homes, 100% solar off-grid. The Bella homes are hybrid on the water. These are under construction. 44 had been delivered as of this morning of the Ava homes, and I think 4 or 5 of the Bella homes have been delivered. So we're about halfway through the delivery. Over the next 90 days, the rest of these homes will be delivered to their owners. So this is Grant and Sasha taking delivery of their home a little while ago. Very, very cool to see folks taking delivery of their homes, moving in, living full time. We had some folks celebrating Christmas with us that had just taken delivery of their off-grid tiny home. And they're down doing the fun things. They're fishing, surfing, horseback riding on the beach. We've got great spas and taking surf lessons. A lot of people don't know how to surf, but we've got a beautiful beach. Karen loved the Azuchillo Beach, and it's got black sand. And I've got a slide coming up about that later where, you can just swim. I mean, these are beautiful swimming waves, but they're also wonderful places to learn how to surf. Horseback riding on the beach, not something you can really do very many places in the world, but at Grand Pacifica, we have the horses, and you can board your own horse. We have a wonderful set of stables if you want to have your own horses and just enjoy riding. We have a golf course, we have tennis courts, we have soccer, we've got frisbee golf, lots of great activities there for folks to play, and great places to do it. Restaurants, bars, and clubhouses. A few miles down the beach, we talked about organic fruits and vegetables. A few miles down the beach, you've got this incredible fishing village where you can show up any morning at 6 o'clock. The fishing boats are coming back in and pick from 6, 8 different varieties of fish, and then great restaurants there as well. We've planted thousands and thousands of trees on the property. It was a cattle pasture when we purchased it. This happens to be our mango forest. Several hundred mango trees of many different varieties there for folks. We've put in plantains. This happens to be one of our neighborhoods that has a large agricultural element to it. So this happens to be the plantains and bananas, but other fruit trees and other types of food products. We engage in corporate social responsibility. We make it very, very easy for folks to get involved in that as well through the Rotary Club and other organizations that do wonderful things in the community all around. And so it can be environmental, it can be beach cleanup, it can be educational, it can be medical, lots of ways to get involved. And we make it, again, very easy for people to get involved and do these types of activities, to become part of the community, to make a meaningful and significant difference with the people you're living in and around. Great sea turtle program, saving thousands of sea turtles and from being poached and releasing them back into the wild. And it's a lot of fun. Kids of all ages, from 90 to little, putting the turtles back in. It's very, very cool. And we have a bee program. We have a woman that takes care of the bees, and we have farmers market, 2 farmers markets now on site. People come in and sell their produce. We have cattle and animal husbandry on the property as well. So now let's dig into ISLA. I want to save lots of time for Q&A, but this is the meat and potatoes of the presentation. This is where we really get into what ISLA is and how it's going to deliver a low EMF lifestyle for the folks on the call today. This is the master plan of the property. Again, very, very large, 2,500 acres. ISLA sits about 600 yards from the water with a teak forest right up against it. The Ava and Bella homes you can see, so it gives some context of relation to where the ISLA neighborhood is located. This is Kathy, I guess 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure, 4 weeks ago, Kathy Cook was down. She brought her equipment and she was taking measurements. And as you can see, very, very, very low readings. In fact, Kathy, can you just jump in for a second, because you can really maybe talk to this particular reading that you were finding out in the open, right? That there's no, I mean, there's no physical building here, of course, and you're getting very, very low readings. Can you interpret that for us here for just a moment?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so 1 to 4 microwatts per square meter was generally the average of what I was getting. In some locations it was under 1 consistently. This is it's a dense area, and with that teak forest, to the would that be to the east? No,
South.
to
Yep.
the east,
To the
and then
south.
the ocean on the opposite direction, which is buffering you from radio frequency. It's just a great environment that was very, very low. And for context, most houses I walk into, we're looking at 15, 16, 17,000, 20,000, 30,000 microwatts per square meter because of all of their stuff. And outdoors, it's extremely hard to get to these levels in most places in the US. I mean, if you're in a populated area, you're never going to get this low. Our building biology guidelines like us to be as low as possible, but typically I'm shooting for under 10 microwatts per square meter, which again is almost impossible unless you're in a very rural area. So I was really happy with these readings. They're very low.
Well, good. Thank you, Kathy. And at the end, I saw somebody raise their hand. We'll continue on, and then we'll get to the questions. And again, we really are here to answer those. But Kathy, thank you for the explanation of that. Oh, and then I just put some of the equipment that you brought down. It was very, very high end professional equipment. You brought it down. You used it to do your testing, and we can provide this information. I think maybe we do in our frequently asked questions sheet as well. Currently, obviously, no electrical fields, magnetic fields, but as we put in the infrastructure, Kathy and our engineers, Grant, especially on the ground there, will be working hand in hand to make sure that as we implement the infrastructure, the electrical, the water, the fiber, obviously, those things are done in a manner that absolutely keeps the lowest possible levels of EMF, but magnetic and electrical fields as well. And then Karen, you were down. Maybe you could just take a moment on the third point. Several sensitive people, but you, I think, were the first to really come try it out. What was your experience there?
The beach and the ocean, I mean, were magnificent. You'll talk about the black lava sand, but just walking on the beach just calmed my whole system. I slept for the first time in many years when I was there. So for me, it was great. And I was even staying in Eva. I had the Wi-Fi turned off in the unit that I was staying in, but I was surrounded by people using smart home technology. I had solar on the unit, and still in the midst of all that, it made a huge, huge difference for me.
Yeah, no, great.
The beach is amazing. The beaches and the water is just magical.
Glad to hear it. Well, we have some beach pictures coming up in a second. I put this on because again, for us to be upfront and transparent is critically important. We have different neighborhoods, and we're going to continue to have other neighborhoods that want electricity, including the ISLA community. Now we're going to be pulling in a solar. The community itself will have an off-site solar. So where you see this yellow line kind of dogleg and keep going up, in that field just to the left side of it will be a solar field. And so instead of putting the solar panels on the home, a couple of things, the area for Ava or for the ISLA community is very, very wooded. And we want to keep as many of those trees as possible for lots of reasons. And so a lot of people want to have solar. They want to be off grid. So we're putting a very specific solar farm where if you need 2 panels, 6 panels, 10 panels, whatever that number is, you will actually be able to have those out in the field to get the maximum sun exposure to the south. And then because of the metering, we'll be able to absolutely net meter to your home the power. But this yellow line, this is the transparency part. We have a 3-phase 400-volt line on the property that will be coming up the property. And the important thing here is to show that it will be far enough away from the edge of the ISLA community to have a basically de minimis impact for the EMF fields. As you can see the chart and the distance on the right, we get down to very, very low levels of EMF off this 400-volt line. It's important for everyone to understand it will be there. We are going to put it there. We are going to be running power to the north side of the property. But we've made the adjustments to make sure that ISLA is far enough away from the line to have next to no EMF impact from that 400-volt 3-phase line going up the property. The site location itself is in a bowl. It's a little bit of a bowl. You can see the low area there. The blue is really a dry stream in the dry season. In the rainy season, it runs, but the property itself kind of sits on both sides of this bowl, and it gives the additional protection of being down underneath and protected from the EMF from any of the various sources in the country that are out there. These are some of the home designs. Grant has done a tremendous job of designing 5 different floor plans. We have these are the 4 single-family homes. We have a tiny home floor plan as well. We are also in the process of working up a rental home, which would be maybe a 4, 6, or 8 townhouse kind of shared wall, shared ceiling to come up with the most economical design and construction possible that could be owned by investors who want to own and do long-term rentals to people who may not have the ability to make an acquisition of a property. We do offer up to 80% financing. So if folks can make the down payment of 20%, the financing option is possible. But there may be folks who are, sickened and affected by EMF that don't have that. And we want to be able to offer those folks the ability to live in an EMF, very low EMF zone. And so there's another type of product that's being developed. It'll be out to folks to take a look at some point soon as well. Home sites themselves, if you want to own a home site, you want to build your own home, that's possible. The home sites start at $69,000. We have an area that we've designated for yurts. A lot of folks looking at the yurt, and again, very loose architectural covenants and restrictions. From a design standpoint, very, very tight covenants and restrictions as regards to how much EMF can emit from your home. We are going to have architectural covenant restrictions, rules, and regulations in this neighborhood that protect the people who buy here from people coming in with cell phones. If you want to use your cell phone indoors, that's up to you. But the amount of emission will be tightly regulated in the architectural covenants and restrictions through the mitigation factors that we'll talk about in a moment. But if you want to build your own home, you have a design in mind, you want to build a yurt, you want to build a mansion, anything in between. Again, as long as you deal with the EMF issues, the design elements can be very, very broad, which is something that folks are excited about. We have home packages. This is a lot and a home. This is the tiny home. It starts at just under $200,000. So for folks that are looking for a package, a down payment of $40,000, financing the rest, or own it outright. Some of the single family homes, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, starting at $272,000, 2 bedroom, 2 bath at $372,000, and then obviously the concept of a community fully developed with lots of folks living there. The construction methodologies in Nicaragua, out of the gates, just standard construction technology, provide high levels of mitigation. If you go to solid concrete, the numbers of mitigation are even higher. But as Kathy, with her testing equipment, showed, you're under 10 microwatts as it is. So you may not need the enhancements of the home, but they're there. Different kinds of paints, Faraday fabric to wrap the outside, window treatments. Internally, Grant Kathy have been working on things like the metal shielding for all of the wires. Because the actual wiring in the house, where you locate the panel box, those types of things are very, very important in the design element. Each of these homes has been designed specifically to minimize the electrical, the magnetic, and the EMF radiation through some of these enhancements, as well as some things that are just absolutely standard to the homes themselves. Fiber, this was Pacific Broadband was the company that we worked with to put in our system, and then the offsite solar to basically make sure that the generation of the electricity, but then also the conversion of DC to AC through the inverters, which can produce a lot of electromagnetic fields, is off-site so that it does not impact the ISLA community. This is an interview that Dr. Kraus did with a friend of mine, Mike Peterson in El Salvador, who is really the godfather of Bitcoin there. But anyway, Jack Kraus spends a great deal of time in El Salvador and did an interview talking about the incredible properties of black sand. And this picture to the left is someone holding some of the sand at the Azuchillo beach, which will be your closest beach. If you decide to walk a few hundred yards to the beach, this is where you'll end up. And it's black sand, it's magnetic, it's volcanic. It has a lot of the magnetism properties in it naturally, and it's very, very healthy for us. And I know that Karen can talk more about that as well if some folks have some questions in the Q&A. We also will be implementing a food forest. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Jim Gale and a bunch of his guys down in Florida back in the I guess the fall, late summer, early fall. A food forest will be put into one of the parks. It'll be part of the common area. It'll be part of a park where any homeowner can walk through the food forest and enjoy what nature will absolutely provide. The nice thing is that many of the home sites are big enough that you can have your own food forest. They're very, very small from a geography standpoint, but they produce an incredible abundance of food because of the symbiosis that Jim and his team have figured out how to deliver. So food forest, you'll have one as part of the common area, but then I'm pretty sure that many of you will decide that you want to implement your own food forest as well. Just an idea of the community, everything from folks with children. We already have folks with children, small children on the property. We have surfers. We have people enjoying lifestyle at Grand Pacifica. And then there's Whiskey, which is Grant and Sasha's dog enjoying a very, very low EMF existence at Grand Pacifica in just one of our standard neighborhoods. But due to the construction methodologies of solid concrete construction, even a home in an area that's not as low EMF as the Isla Village is at Grand Pacifica can have a great lifestyle. We do take crypto for folks that have a lot of crypto, and many of you do, I know. You can use crypto to buy your home. We also have crypto loan programs that you can tap into if you don't want to sell your crypto. You want to borrow against it. Same thing with gold, by the way. We have a bank that does a gold loan program. So if you've got metals, mostly gold, or crypto, and you want to preserve them, you can borrow against them, or you can actually make the transaction with those. For anyone who's looking at this purely as an investment, if you said, "Yep, I'm interested in owning a couple of these smaller townhouse units because I want to have long-term renters in there." Maybe you own a home for yourself, right? But you're looking at this as an investment as well. Using a self-directed IRA, you could own one or multiple of these rental properties to serve folks that can't afford to own it, but can afford to rent. That can be done through a self-directed IRA. And then the financing, up to 80% financing with a bank here in Belize, Key International Bank. They can provide financing as well. So we really try to make it as easy as possible, folks. If you want to own, if you want to live in this neighborhood, there's probably a way to make it happen. And so we're taking reservations right now. We weren't ready when we did the last webinar, but we are ready today to begin taking reservations. Here's how it works. It's a $5,000 fully refundable deposit, fully refundable. And that's important. There's no fees. If you send $5,000 reservation, And so you'll see the next line, April 30th, go or no go. So we need to have 50 folks who want to own one of these properties. If 50 folks say they want to own it, and I'm pretty sure we'll get there, we've had an unbelievable response to the announcement, to the webinars, for inquiries coming in. On April 30th, if we have 50 folks who have sent in a fully refundable deposit, we move forward. We are doing this thing, and you'll have 30 days to fund half of whatever it is you want to own, a home site, a tiny home, or one of the lot home packages. And then over the next 16 months, there'll be progress payments as the properties are built. If on April 30th, we don't have 50 and we say, you know what, we can't do it. You know, we're not moving ahead with this, which I seriously doubt. We'll send you $5,000 back, not $4,990 because of credit card fees. We will send you $5,000 back. But the deposit is fully refundable if we do not move forward. However, again, I want to be very upfront. I want to be very transparent. If we move ahead and you change your mind, we're going to keep your $5,000 because we are counting on you when you send us the $5,000 that you are saying, I want to do this. I am ready. If this thing moves forward, count me in. And again, I think 50 is a very, very reasonable number. It lets us put in the infrastructure for the entire phase to be able to deliver this incredible lifestyle, this incredible low EMF living, this solution for so many people who desperately want and need something like this. 50 folks sign up. Again, I think we're going to be way ahead of that. We will move forward, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. You know, this is the time where, you know, you get to take the opportunity. You'll get the first right of selection. Every reservation will be time, date stamped. And so you'll have, if you're number one, you're going to have the absolute best, you know, choices. You'll have all of them, right? And so forth. So if you're interested in this, you want to move forward, please reach out to us, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. Joe Nagel, who's on this call, he's our property consultant, our residency consultant. So the property, say, yeah, I want to do this. You figure out which package, you want to buy a home site, whatever it is. Okay, and I'm going to need residency because I plan to live there. Are you 45 or not? I mean, so different kinds of things. He'll walk you through all of that to make sure that if this is something you want to do, that you can do it. So I think that's it. Michael Fuller, I'm going to ask if you can jump back in and help with Q&A. We've got a great panel here. We've got Grant, Kathy, Karen, Joe, myself. So I guess we'll just open it up. So if you have questions, stick them in the chat or the Q&A or whatever, and we'll get right to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I do want to make mention that we are going to send a copy of today's recording to everybody after today's webinar. So you'll find that along with the website where you can see phase one that's open now and the reservation form. I know we had some questions regarding the website for square footage and pricing. Those will all be in the email follow-up that we will be sending to you, where you can see pricing of all of the home sites, tiny homes, and single family homes for ISLA. All right, let's jump into some of the questions here today. First question is, when will the building biology report and housing materials design be ready to review?
Kathy, why don't you talk about the building biology report, since that one's in your lap? I think it's very soon, and then we'll let Grant handle the architectural question.
Yeah, so I actually have a preliminary report already completed. I'm just putting some finishing touches on the final report. I'm having it reviewed by an electrical engineer for good measure. So as soon as I get it back from him, which I expected actually yesterday, so very soon, within the next few days, it will be completed, and I will be giving it over to ECI, and then yeah, we'll be able to look at it from that point.
Yep, and we will put it up on the website so you can link right to it and read it yourself. Yep. Grant, how about the home specifications and I'm not sure, Michael, the second part of that question, was there anything technical or just general about the home specifications?
So far, general.
Okay, Grant.
Yep. First of all, I apologize for my tiger stripes. The sun is setting right in my window here in my office. In general, the common materials that we use here in Grand Pacifica and the assemblies that we have for the walls and roofs are already by themselves very, very powerful at mitigating EMF exposure. In our house, for example, we reduced the numbers from outside by about 90% without doing any special treatment to anything. And so we're sort of following the same pattern and adding additional features to them to make sure that we are getting to the lowest possible EMF protection as we can. The walls are generally concrete block or concrete, and the roofs, at least on the full-size family houses, not the tiny homes, is a corrugated metal roof with the clay tile on top of it. So you have a metal roof in addition to the clay tiles, and the clay tiles really are there for aesthetics and to protect the metal roof from the weather and UV rays. In terms of other things that are going to the house, we're shielding cabling, and as Mike mentioned earlier, the design, the layout of the house is such so that all the appliances, the electrical box, laundry, all of those things are on the exterior of the house. So they're as far as feasibly possible from a bedroom or a living area where you would generally spend most of your time.
All right, thank you.
I saw one come in regarding rentals, and I know that Mike had touched upon that. There will be rentals allowed, but we will make sure that they are adhering to the guidelines set forth regarding the community. But on top of that, for those that, look at this from more of an investment side of things, we do have a rental management team already on property. So if, having a rental property is of interest, but you don't necessarily want to manage a property a couple thousand miles away, we do have the team on site that can be able to do that. So not a problem from that perspective. And I don't know, Mike, if you have anything you want to add on that, but we're working through all of the various HOA wording or whatever it may be, but that's in the works as we speak.
Correct. Yep.
Can I pipe in with regard to the HOA guidelines?
Sure.
I think we've all been talking about that for a couple of months now, and input from anybody is welcome, because this is a work in progress, right?
Yep.
We generally agreed no microwaves, and then no use of smartphones outside of your own home. But there's a whole lot of other things to be considered. So for anybody who's on the call and who's listening, we really welcome a lot of input, because we're trying to put this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. And one other question that I constantly have been getting emails from regarding various people of interest has to do with, how are they going to be ensured that, there's no more, issues regarding EMF waves to the property. And I think Mike had just touched upon that briefly at the start of the webinar, but, we own 2,500 acres of property. And so we, as the developers, are able to do what Mike talked about and strategically place things in certain locations to make sure that they're not going to have an impact on that community. So, it's not like, the property ends right at the ISLA community and someone can develop, some EMF cell tower factory right next to us. We have that ability to control what's around us because we own a good bit of that land out there. So I just wanted to really touch on that because I've had a lot of emails come in regarding that, but I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that, but that's something I just wanted to make, really, really quite clear.
Thank you, Joe. Good point. Right. As the developer, we control what happens on the property, and we are committed to preserving the low EMF state of this property. In fact, I really think, based on the response we've seen and the number of people who have come through just the various channels to get to us, I actually think that this community, this neighborhood, this ISLA neighborhood may actually end up chewing up maybe much or all of the remaining land at Grand Pacifica. The need is unbelievable, as many of you know. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people who are sickened and affected by this, who don't have great options. Karen, you said you love the tropics, right? I mean, if you want to live in Green Bank, West Virginia, or the middle of the desert somewhere, or whatever, I mean, there are places you can go. but they're not really communities. And let me just circle back to this idea of community for a minute. You know, the community is the hallmark of quality of life. It's the relationships we have with other people. And you know what? In any community, we're going to find people we really get along with. We're going to find people we don't get along with, right? But that's part of being in a neighborhood, being in a community, right? And we can gravitate towards the people we enjoy spending time with. Here's the really cool thing about what we're doing with ISLA is most of you share very similar goals, ideals, and philosophies. And that creates a very cohesive community. And I'm pretty sure that if you went and knocked on your neighbor's door, Karen, you went down the hallway or, you know, down the street and knocked on somebody's door, you know, if you're in a condo or a home, and you said, hey, I'm thinking about this. This is what I'm concerned about. You know, most people would look at you like you're just a whack, right? But we're not. We really understand. We're being affected by this. And so all of a sudden, to put all of us together in a place where we can be ourselves, we don't have to pretend to be something else. We don't have to keep a lid on what we really think about things, right? We can share. This is an incredibly freeing and wonderful experience. And we've done this for other folks. Many of the folks in AVA are crypto, very freedom oriented. The COVID mandates and the COVID lockdowns. You know, we had a lot of people who said, you know what, this is insane, and this is not who we are, and they had to keep their mouth shut, or they faced harassment, or you know, or worse, right, or worse. And so to be able to be in a community with people who feel the same way, who share many of the same ideologies and philosophies, not all, but many, like this is powerfully wonderful, and that's what we're building. We're building a community. And as more and more people hear that there's a place where they can go and be themselves, where a place where they can go and they can enjoy a very low EMF lifestyle, right? Those two things paired together are powerful. And I think that we're going to see more and more people choosing to come to ISLA and be a part of this. So yeah, we are the developer. We do control what happens. But I'm very optimistic that what we do in the future may be more and more of this, because there are just so many people who need it and want it, and really don't have great options other places. So yeah, thank you, Joe.
Awesome. I think this question may go to you, Grant. It's more regarding the construction and some of the utilities. So it's three parts. What type of rebar is being used? If you can talk about the stove, if it will be gas or not, cooktops, and Ethernet drops in every room.
So the rebar that's being used is just a standard rebar, but we have enough coverage on the concrete and the plaster to give enough protection to that rebar from any moisture or salt or anything else that might get into it. It's the same regulations that you'd see in other tropical areas in the United States or in Canada. And so we can manage that and not worry about the rebar that's in the walls itself. In terms of the stove, we're still discussing the different appliances, and it seems at this moment that we're going to offer probably an option for either a gas or an electric stove, because we know some people are chemically sensitive and would prefer to have an electric stove, even though that may be a trade-off for EMFs. Most of the appliances right now are gas powered that we have in Gran Pacifica. And then Ethernet drops, we haven't laid those out exactly, but I anticipate there to be one in every room. Probably not in the kitchen, but at least living room, bedrooms, places where you normally see televisions or plan to place a computer or other connection.
Great. And just to add on to Grant's point, you know, I've had a lot of questions come in about, you know, more things just other than EMF, such as, you know, VOCs. And so we are looking diligently at, you know, the various types of furniture and other fixtures that will go inside the homes to make sure that's considered as well. So it's not like we're just looking at the EMF. But another question that came in was regarding
Hey, Joe, can I stop you and stay on the VOCs for just a second? Sure. You know, one of the nice things about working in a country like Nicaragua is that most of the materials are very low or you know, no VOCs, right? It's concrete, it's brick, it's tiles, it's real woods. It's not plywoods and particle boards and compressed, stuff. I mean, it's actual wood, right? That you make your cabinetry out of, things like that. So, and you don't really use carpets. I mean, the fabrics on furniture, that's something that we're looking at. In fact, Joe was asking me earlier today about furniture packages and how do we, make sure that the fabric pieces of furniture, beds, things, mattresses, things like that are not high VOC types of products, but generally the products that are used to build a home are very, very low VOC naturally in a country like Nicaragua. So sorry, Joe, back to you.
Yeah, no worries. I just saw one other question that I wanted to maybe have Kathy speak on, and that had to do with the various types of waves that were measured, radio waves or other frequencies that were measured when we were testing the property.
Yeah, so real quick, I'll just touch on the chemical aspect just because that is near and dear to my heart, and a large majority of my work is in the air quality space as well. So for those of you that are concerned about that, I'm very aware of that and offering some insight into suggestions from that piece as well. So that's definitely on the radar. And then for the fields, the other fields that were measured, in building biology or in the EMF world, we've got 4 fields that we like to test for, which is the radio frequency, which we've covered. And then we've got dirty electricity, electric fields, magnetic fields. And so if you get a chance to review the report, you will see that, I measured the proposed area for all of these, but of course there won't be any because there's no infrastructure yet. But doing good measure, making sure there's no anomalies or anything. I measured all of those, and there is none. And I did measure some of the existing structures as well, just to get a sense of, how is the infrastructure laid? What's the electrical environment like? And overall, magnetic fields were extremely low. So the way that the power lines are run to the existing communities, extremely low. I was very, very happy about that. There are some point sources in some of the areas, which, we're going to eliminate those issues in the ISLA communities, of course. And then the electric fields, surprisingly, the electric fields I found, maybe this shouldn't be a surprise, they were all relatively low as well. And I went to Panama right after I was in Nicaragua, and I found a similar situation. So I'm sure it has something to do with the density of the walls. I don't know exactly how the wires are run through the walls to get to the outlets, etc. But those were very low as well. The dirty electricity, we did have some increase, because we're using solar in a lot of these buildings. There are mini splits, there are LED light bulbs. So I was getting sources from all of these, but of course we're taking that into consideration in the ISLA buildings, and we're gonna both, you have shielded wires, you have filtering capacity at your panel, and better choices of light bulbs and placement. So all of this is being considered.
Got it. Let's do one more question here. In general, talking about the future of this community, what are some of the future plans in terms of retreat centers, community centers, on-site restaurants, and such? I don't know if Grant or Karen would like to take on that question.
I want to look at the question before I respond. Sorry, can you read it one more time?
Sure thing. In terms of the, let me just pull up the exact question here. For future plans of the community, on-site restaurants, markets, community centers, what are some of the future plans that folks can note for the ISLA community?
The plan at the moment includes the food forest, and it includes a community gathering space, which we're still designing exactly what that's going to look like. And those should be done with the first phase of houses. So they'll be done anticipating the first owners moving in. In terms of specifically for this neighborhood, like having a farmer's market in that neighborhood is possible. Right now, it's sort of general for Grand Pacifica, the way that these are set up. So people come to a centralized location on the overall property for that. One service does deliveries. It does delivery in one neighborhood, in the San Diego Viejo neighborhood, and then also delivers in the Eva Bella area. So it probably would be easy to set up a delivery also in the Isla neighborhood. And we're continually adding these kinds of services consistently. You know, I've been here for almost 3 years now, and we had almost nothing happening when we first moved here, partially because of COVID, but we have been able to get a couple of farmers coming in. We're talking to more and discussing internally about trying to get like fish delivered and getting people to do runs to Managua for larger items every once in a while. So we're trying to set up more and more things. And again, this isn't just Isla as itself, but overall Grand Pacifica for all the residents.
Thank you, Grant. I do see a lot of questions coming in that I will forward over to you, Joe, regarding the HOA fees and the rental program. Folks, any last words before we wrap up today's webinar?
Karen, I'm just gonna go top down.
Yeah,
as I
I'd
see
just
you
like
on
to-
my screen.
I want to just speak to one question that I think is important. It has to do with satellites. This is just an interesting tidbit of information, which Grant and Sasha just recently discovered. It's a little bit of a political issue, but as of right now, satellites are not allowed in the airspace over Nicaragua. And, you know, Grant, I don't know if you want to speak more to the details of that. We really don't have any more details than that at the moment, but as of right now, satellites are not allowed in the Starlink, I guess specifically, is not allowed in the airspace above Nicaragua, which, you know, is great news for me. There was a couple of other questions I saw. So many people on here. You're going to be my best friends automatically. You're so smart and cool. I guess I'll just stop there.
Thank you, Karen. Well, thank you for bringing this opportunity to us so that we could figure a lot of this stuff out. We still have some things to figure out, but we're getting close on most of it. Some of it we've pretty well set. I think, Joe, you're going to be able to answer a lot of the specific questions that people are having. Kathy, I'm going to go to you next. Any final thoughts or words or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously super excited about this whole opportunity. And, you know, before I went down to test, I was a little nervous, you know, hoping that I would be surprised by all of the readings being extremely low. And I was just very nervous that there might be something, but, you know, I consider myself moderately sensitive and I felt great down there. I mean, I came home to 4 or 5 feet of snow and had canceled flights because of the weather and everything when I was coming back. And I've been pining to be back on that beach like you would not believe. It really, it was really, the energy was excellent. And I was just so happy about the readings. And yeah, Mike, you know, I'm just really grateful for your team and for Karen for bringing this to reality. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And Grant, do you or Whiskey have any final thoughts for us today?
No, we're also very, very excited about this project and really, really keen to meet the people who are interested in this. You know, if you do come and visit, if you are interested and come down, Sasha and I are the ones who are here to meet and greet you and orient you. And, you know, we're kind of the unofficial welcome committee for the entire property, not just this project, but look forward to meeting anyone who wants to come down.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us this evening. If this is something that you want to pursue further, we're here for you, Joe, specifically on the front end, but he's got a great group of people behind him, all of us on the technical side, but then other people in the organization as well. Again, reach out, let us know what you're thinking, how you want to proceed. Joe will work with you and plan to come visit. I think that's really the next big step is to come visit, see what it's like to be there. And we have a trip tentatively scheduled for the middle of March. That'll be sent around to everybody who registered for the webinar once it's solidified. But that's a great opportunity. You don't have to come that date. You can say, I want to come next week. Well, that's okay too. We'll figure that out. But we'd love to have you come visit. And for everybody who wants to be a part of this community, we welcome you to it. So Michael Fuller, thanks for getting us all together today. We really appreciate it, and look forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.